Air cooler or liquid cooler? This is probably the most debated question in PC building, and it shouldn't be. Once you actually understand how each one works, the answer is simple. The problem is, most videos give you opinions, this one gives you the data. In the next 10 minutes, I'm covering everything. What the specs mean, one compatibility check that causes most returns, and exactly which cooler I'd buy at every budget in 2026, including the $35 one that beats coolers costing 3 times as much. Before we get into cooler types, I want you to understand why this decision matters. Because it's not just about keeping your PC alive. Modern CPUs are designed to throttle. That means that when they get too hot, they automatically reduce their performance. So, if your cooler can't keep up, you're losing real-world frame rates that you already paid for. The number to know here is TDP, thermal design power. It's measured in watts and represents how much heat your CPU generates under sustained load. But here is the thing that most people miss. CPUs also have a short-term boost power limit. Intel calls it PL2, AMD's equivalent is the peak PPT, and it can run significantly higher than the listed TDP for burst of a few seconds all the way up to a few minutes. Now for gaming specifically, this usually isn't the critical number. In most games, your GPU is the bottleneck, so the CPU is doing relatively light work and rarely sustains anything close to its boost limit. But it does matter in CPU heavy workloads, such as compiling, rendering, or streaming while gaming. And it also affects which cooler is the right size for the job. So when choosing a cooler, don't just match the listed TDP. Look at the peak power draw too, especially for high-end chips. In gaming, you'll rarely hit that ceiling, since the GPU is doing most of the heavy lifting, but if you're also using your PC for streaming, video editing, anything CPU intensive, a cooler that can only just handle the base TDP is cutting it close. So the rule of thumb is, budget and mid-range CPUs are fine with a cooler rated to the base TDP, high-end chips, anything 125 watts and above, size up for the boost headroom. Keep that in mind as we go through the options. Air coolers are the older technology and they work through a beautifully simple mechanism called heat pipes. The result is constant passive heat transfer from your CPU to the fin stack, where fans blow the heat out into the case. No pump, no liquid loop, nothing that can fail, just physics. There are 2 configurations. Single tower, 1 stack of fins, 1 or 2 fans. Good for most builds. Dual tower, 2 fin stacks with fans sandwiched in between them, significantly more surface area, substantially better cooling. These are what you want if you're doing anything serious. Now for fan size, 120mm fans spin faster to move the air, which means they also make more noise. 140mm fans move the same or more air at lower RPMs, quieter. All else being equal, 140mm is the better choice for a quiet build. The big advantage of air coolers is reliability. A quality tower cooler has no moving parts other than the fans. It does not degrade, it does not leak, and it will outlast every other component in your PC. AIO stands for all-in-one. It's a closed liquid cooling loop that comes pre-assembled. No filling, no bleeding, no maintenance required. Here's how it works. The pump sits directly on your CPU, moves liquid through tubing to a radiator mounted inside your case, and fans pull air through that radiator to keep the liquid cool before it goes back inside the CPU. The key spec is radiator size, 120, 240, 280 or 360mm. That number refers to the total radiator length. A 240mm AIO uses 2 120mm fans. A 360mm uses 3. More radiator fans means more cooling area, so that means lower temperatures. It's pretty straightforward. Now, the failure question. Do AIOs leak or fail? Yes, but less than the reputation suggests. The realistic risk is pump degradation over 5 to 7 years through heavy use. Most people cycle through a PC in that time frame anyways. The bigger concern is, if it does fail, it's a more expensive and complex problem than a fan wearing out on an air cooler. That asymmetry matters when you're building on a budget. Alright, here's the actual answer by budget tier. Under $60, air wins. Not air is good enough for the price, air genuinely wins. Performance, noise, value, the whole package. The Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 CE is $35 and it matches our beast most $60 to $70 240mm AIOs in thermal performance. The reason is simple. The AIO pumps in that price range cut corners on component quality to hit a low price, and the pump is exactly the thing that can fail. A $35 tower cooler has no such compromise. $60 to $80. Air still usually wins on performance, but this is where aesthetics become a valid reason to choose an AIO. A 240mm AIO radiator mounted at the top of your case leaves the inside of your build looking very clean. A dual tower cooler is big and it dominates the motherboard area. So if you care about that, the AIO is a defensible choice here. Just know that you're paying for the looks and not necessarily better thermals. Above $80 with a high TDP CPU, this is where AIOs take over. A 360mm AIO, and specifically the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 360, outperforms even the best air coolers on the market, including the Noctua NH-D15G2, which I'll mention in a moment. If you have a CPU with a base TDP of 125 watts or higher, chips that can spike well past 150 to 200 watts at boost, and you want to run it quietly under all workloads, not just gaming, then a 360mm AIO is the right call. Summary table is up on the screen. The practical takeaway for the majority of gaming builds in 2026 is spend $35 on the Thermalright and put the money you save towards a better GPU instead. That's what's gonna make a bigger difference. This section is the reason most cooler returns happen. 3 things to verify before you buy. 1. Socket support. Your cooler must physically mount to your CPU socket. AMD is currently on AM5 that covers Ryzen 7000 and 9000 series. Intel's mainstream desktop sockets are LGA 1700 for 12th to 14th generation and LGA 1851 for Arrow Lake, which is 15th gen. Most coolers released in the last 2 years support all of these, but always check the product spec sheet before buying. It only takes about 30 seconds. Number 2. CPU cooler height versus case clearance. Every case has a maximum CPU cooler height listed in millimeters. The Noctua NH-D15G2, one of the coolers I'd recommend, is 168 millimeters tall. A budget mid-tower might only allow 155 millimeters, so if you buy without checking, it won't fit. This is not a might be tight situation, it physically does not fit in the case. Check your case spec. Check your cooler spec. If the numbers don't match, pick a shorter cooler or a bigger case. Number 3. RAM clearance. Dual tower coolers and their fans can physically overhang the first DIMM slot on some motherboards, especially if your RAM has tall heat spreaders. This isn't universal. It depends on your specific cooler, motherboard layout, and RAM height, but it does catch some people off guard. So before buying a larger cooler, search for your specific cooler and motherboard combo in reviews or on Reddit. Someone has usually already checked. Alright, specific picks. Link to everything in the description. For budget air, I'll choose the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE at around $35. Dual tower, 2 120mm fans, supports AM5 and LGA 1700. It outperforms coolers costing $60 to $70. This is the answer for any gaming build under $1,000 that doesn't have a particularly high TDP CPU. It's just that good. Mid-range air, the DeepCool AK620, around $55. Also dual tower, slightly quieter fans, and marginally better build quality. If you want to step up from the Thermalright for a smoother experience, this is the one. Premium air, Noctua NH-D15G2 at around $110. This is the best air cooler you can buy, full stop. It's dual tower, 140mm fans, it's whisper quiet, class leading thermals. If you hate the beige and brown color scheme, that's fair enough. Noctua now makes a black version as well. Both are excellent. Budget AIO, Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 240 at around $65. If you want a 240mm AIO, this is the one I'd pick at the price. Arctic has a strong track record on pump longevity, and the performance per dollar is hard to beat in this category. Premium AIO, I'll go for the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 360 at around $90 to $100. This is the pick for high TDP chips where you want maximum cooling with minimal noise. It competes with AIOs costing $130 to $150. Quick summary, for most gaming builds, get the $35 Thermalright. That money is better spent on your GPU. If you're running a high TDP CPU and want the best thermals, then go for the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 360. If you want to skip all of this research and just get the full build pick for your budget, cooler included, try the PC builder at MaxMyBuild.com. Just enter your budget, get a complete parts list with live pricing. Links is in the description. Last thing, drop a comment, air cooler or AIO, what are you running? If this helped, the subscribe button is right there. Next video is the PSU guide. How much wattage do you actually need and why you're probably buying too much. See you there.